Is the team where you thought they'd be at this particular point in time?
Obviously, you can always speculate and have an idea or a vision of where you want the team to be, but then it's all about maximizing what you got right in front of you. And what I would say is we have had some challenges the last 2 to 3 camps with player availability, but there's always going to be challenges when you work with a football team. I think the last camp gave us a good answer that we're heading in the right direction. We had 2 good solid performances against South Africa and Denmark. And I think one of the reasons were we got time to prepare, good training time together. And the more time this team get together, the better we'll be. We had the privilege in that Olympics when we broke through that quarterfinal for the first time in the history of this program to have 5 weeks together prior to that tournament. And that was the main reason why we were successful then. So are the team where we wanted to be? The only thing I answer to that is we want to get one day better. That's what we focus on. And then we see when the World Cup comes how ready we are.
There was a period of time there when there were concerns, perhaps only external from the fans, because the Matildas were struggling to string wins together. The temperature's a bit warmer now, having had those wins that you just mentioned. Were you satisfied even in that moment when the results weren't going your way, that you were happy with how you laid out that plan?
You always want to win. But I think internally we had a trust, or we have a trust and belief in the process and the preparation. What I think I could have done better is I could have educated and informed externally more why we did what we did. Why did we play such a tough schedule, the toughest schedule in the history of this program in terms of ranked teams. And at the same time, we introduced 17 debutants and had a lot of rotation in the roster. So we tried to build depth at the same time as we tried to prepare against top teams, which historically have not been good stats for us. We need to play tougher games and we need better depth in the roster. And I understand the criticism, I do. And what I've said though is I rather take that personally than having the fans go at the players, because the players was just brought into a process that I decided to take them on. And I'm just so thankful that the players was loyal and believed in that process. And you know, now we're starting to see some fruits of that journey, especially the last camp.
If you had your time over, would you pick the same teams again?
Actually, I think I underestimate the importance of creating the momentum, even outside, and get everyone on board and believing in this. So maybe I was a bit overambitious, but it was only because I thought it was the best for the team. But maybe I should have thrown 1 or 2 easier games in there just for the sake of momentum. But looking at preparation, I'm not sure it would have helped us. So in that sense, I think we've done the right thing.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Yeah.
So with the way that the football world is running, the women's football world, it's progressing so rapidly, particularly in other parts of the world. You would have seen a lot of it being with the US team because world number 1, they've always been at the top of the tree. Who have you been most surprised by? Who do you think has set the benchmark? Who's impressed you the most?
I think everyone that is involved in the game now was really impressed about the quality in the Euros in England. If you look at the quality of that tournament, there's some reports coming out now as well showing that the development of the game is just improving rapidly. You look at the intensity of the game, you look at the physicality of the game, you look at the high intensity runs and sprints, you look at the time on the ball, which is less and less and less, so the tempo gets higher. The first time I was involved in women's football was in the Olympics in England in 2012. Compare that final with the final in the Euros and you see the development of the game. It's just amazing on where it's heading.
It was Carly Lloyd that said the rest of the world is catching up to the States. Having been in the US women's national team program yourself, how close is that gap now?
Well, I think it was very interesting for a lot of people in women's football to watch that friendly at Wembley in the last camp when England played the US. You know, the European champion versus the world champion. And England won that game. And maybe that says something.